Hello everybody! Today we are back in Pokemon Emerald and we will play through the game using only a Surskit. As usual, you can find the rules in the description. The general idea is to only use Surskit in battle. Don't use cheats or glitches and also no items in battle. Surskit has always been a weird Pokemon. You can't find it early in the game, but have to wait a while, so I never bothered catching it. It also loses the water type when it evolves, which is unusual. It's more of a special attacker, which is good since we probably won't have any trouble with the Mytienas, but the fact that it does not have any relevant boosting moves kinda worries me for the endgame. At least the move pool is decent, so let's hope for the best. I had to reset a couple of times because I was looking for a decent nature that would raise my special attack, and after about a dozen tries, I got mild, which is fine. Surskit only starts with Bubble that has very low base power, but at least it's stab, so better than nothing I guess. For May, I leveled until I learned Quick Attack, otherwise Bubble would have been resisted and I would surely lose. After May has been defeated, we can make our way to Petalburg Woods to rescue the Sylph guy from the usual Team Aqua grunt. His Poochyena shouldn't be a big deal, but it uses Sand Attack, and this move is so annoying. It lives on 1 HP, and because of the accuracy drops, I miss multiple bubbles to the point where I'm almost dead before I can finally land one last bubble and finish him. After he runs away, I can grind a bit and face Roxanne. I could have leveled to 25 to learn Bubble Beam and make the fight a walk in the park, but I preferred to stop at 20, and ultimately it wasn't a bad decision. I lost once because I'm a bug and rock moves hurt a lot, but miraculously, during the second attempt, the nose pass doesn't even hit me once. Once we defeat her, we can move on to the important stuff and save Pico from the next Team Aqua Grunt. This time around, I don't miss because of Sand Attack, so the fight is much easier, and after the grunt is defeated, we can return Pico to the old dude, his rightful owner. Now that we have dealt with the most important side quest in Pokemon, it's time for optional May. And since I gave her Mudkip, her lead in this fight is a Torkoal. Even if her special defense is not that great, it still takes me 3 bubbles to take it out. At least she does not attack me. Since I don't have good moves for the Mudkip, he takes a couple of turns too. I had to stall a turn of his bite, otherwise I would be almost dead. Anyway, after we defeat her, we can reach Mr. Briny and he returns the favor by sailing us to Brawly's gym. Our bug type, for once, is actually useful and makes us resistant to his fighting moves. Because of our low defense, his physical moves still do a lot of damage, but we can finish the fight before he takes us out. Also, at level 25, I learned Bubble Beam, so our damage output just tripled. Once we snatch the second badge from his hands, we can proceed to Slateport, where we have to deliver some parts to the captain. As usual, we are attacked by Team Aqua Grants, who want to steal those parts. Their teams are not very strong. They only have a couple of mons each. Strangely enough, Rough Skin this time is quite annoying. Since my damage is low, I have to hit them multiple times, and I lose a decent amount of HP. After we take care of both of them, Their leader Archie storms in, but doesn't really do anything, and soon after they leave. Next up is the fight against May 2. Her team is a bit stronger now. For the Lombre, I have to use Quick Attack since Bubble Beam is doubly resisted. Against the Slugma, just one Bubble Beam does the job. Her ace is Marshtomp, and for this fight in particular, I'm sure Grovyle would have been harder, but for later fights, Marshtomp will be a bit worse. He can't do much damage to me, and I don't do much to him, because for some reason I forgot to use Bubble Beam. As you might imagine, Wattson was not super easy. I lost a couple of times, but expected worst. My special defense is decent, so their electric moves don't do much damage. He uses a potion on Voltorb, but it does not matter. Against the Manectric, I have to say I got lucky. We would use our berries and he would survive another hit, but I get a crit to finish him. The Magneton could still take me out, but thankfully I don't get fully paralyzed and can finish the match. Once Wattson gives us his badge and the Shockwave TM that we can't use unfortunately, we make our way to Meterfall Caves to meet up with both of the criminal teams of the Hoenn region. Here we are informed about Maxi, so we have to stop him. Maxi's team is surprisingly easy to be honest. I, of course, can't one-shot his Mightyena, so was expecting some BS, but he just bites me, and then potions, so after a couple of attacks it goes down. The rest of the team is a sweep, so we get through him with no resets. So far Surskit is doing pretty good, let's hope he does not crash in flames. Next we have to challenge Flannery for the Fire Gym badge. Since I'm super effective, this gym should be easy, and it mostly is. Her first two Pokémons go down in one hit, and even the Camerupt can't take a Bubble Beam. The Torkoal once again is the star of the show though. It takes one hit and it deals more than half of my HP in one overhit. I suppose this is the good outcome though. Sunny Day sounds quite scary actually. Flannery, of course, uses a bunch of potions on it, but we can keep spamming bubbles and eventually win. Once she is defeated, we have to take on our dead, and the slacking destroys me. So desperate situations call for desperate measures. I buy Ice Beam and hope for the best. Of course, odds are not in my favor, and I never get a freeze on the slacking. Even if I reach it with full HP, he can two-shot me, so this fight is very hard. On the successful attempt, Spinda confuses me, which is not a good start, but at least I don't hit myself. The Vigoroth does some damage to me before going down, and the Linoone fails a Bellygram, so we can reach his ace with a good amount of HP. I should leave a hit on this range, so I desperately need a freeze, but for some reason he goes for Yawn. I freeze him and he immediately toes out. At this point I thought the fight was over, but in a bit of an AI brain fart, the slacking just keeps spamming Yawn. I ran out of Ice Beams, but can finish him with some bubbles. No idea what happened there, but I'll take it. After the match, our dad congratulates us, and Wally's uncle kidnaps us. Thankfully, he only wants to give us the Surf HM. Now that he has more freedom, we can proceed with the story, and after clearing the Weather Institute of Team Aqua Grants, we have to fight May again. Her team is not that good. Lombre as usual flinches me with Fake Out. The Slugma is easy. I have nothing else to say about it. And against the Marshtomp, my brain turned off again. I use Secret Power when both Ice Beam and Bubble Beams are better. It's even raining. What are you doing, brain? Whatever. Winona is a bit scary because she uses flying types that we are weak to, but we have Ice Beam to take care of most of them too. At this point, thanks to our good base speed, we are faster than everything, so as long as we can one-shot, we don't have much to worry about. Skarmory is a two-shot, so unless Sand Attack screws me over, we should win easily. And we do. After a couple more turns, we managed to defeat her last moves, so now, with her badge in our possession, we can fly around the match. Time for the last fight against May in front of them all. I'm not even sure it's worth recording this anymore. Her team is quite weak, and unless something crazy happens, I should never lose to her here. There is not much to say. Her first two Pokémon die to an Ice Beam and a Bubble Beam each. The last two are more tanky, and at least I'm consistent and keep using them secret power against Marshtomp. Silver lining, I guess. Once we take care of her, we can get Giga Drain from this girl if you have a grass type in the team. After that, we climb the Pokemon Tower and see Archie talking to an old lady. She gives us the Magma emblem, and with that, we can enter Team Magma Hideout, where we see Maxi waking up Groudon with the blue orb. He challenges us to a duel, and since we are using a special attacker, the Mighty Hyena's Intimidate is not a problem. We can take it out with a couple of Bubble Beams even if he uses a potion. Camerupt obviously is a one-shot because of the 4 times weakness, and one Ice Beam is enough to get rid of the Crobat. That was a very easy fight, all things considered. Next, we have to take on Tate and Liza. While I'm weak to their rock moves, I'm also super effective on them, so this shouldn't be too hard. I can use Ice Beam for Claydol and Exatu later, while for the 2 asteroids, I can take them out using Bubble Beam. The Lunaton, as always, is the priority, because of Hypnosis. I don't want to lose. And because of the defense boosts, the Xatu leaves an Ice Beam. This could become a problem, but thankfully it's a 2-shot and we can finish the fight soon after. Once we obtain their badge and the TM for Calm Mind that we can't use, we have to take part in the double fight with Steven against the 2 Team Magma members. Most of their Pokémons are weak to my moves, but in a double fight they might focus me and defeat me quite easily. Thankfully, the Mighty Hyena that survives uses Scary Face. They seem to like that move in this fight for some reason. But that's not a great idea, since thanks to my good speed, I can still outspeed almost all of their Pokémons. Swagger would have been a much better move in my opinion. Crobat is the only Pokémon that outspeeds me, and I guess he heard me because he confuses me, and of course I hit myself. At least it wastes his next turn, allowing me to finish him with an Ice Beam. Now that the fight is a 2v1 in my favor, I should have this in the bag. I don't know why, but this fight always seems harder than what it actually is. Maybe because of PTSD from some of the Tate and Liza fights, since they too are a 2v2. Anyway, once we finally beat them and they flee the building, we can get the dive TM from Steven and then dive down to Kyogre's lair, where we find Archie, and he decides to fight us. His team is more of the same really. This time around, I do one-shot the Mighty Hyena, but I misclick against the Crobat and he does insane damage to me with a crit. That was so close, got me scared for a second. Next turn I can finish him and I can use a Giga Drain on the Sharpedo to take it out. Once Archie is defeated, the red orb in his pocket activates and wakes up Kyogre from its slumber. Archie somehow senses that the weather is not normal and then Team Magma reaches us. All together we resurface and we can see that the weather is a mess. They both are a bit torn on what to do and leave. At least Steven arrives to the rescue. As usual, I skip all the stuff in between and jump to the cutscene where Rayquaza scolds the other two legendaries. After they retreat, it's time to face Juan. I'm quite confident since I have Giga Drain to deal super effective damage on his team. Some of his mons are tanky, so they might leave a hit and attack us back. But since we lifesteal, it shouldn't be a problem. Although paralysis from Body Slam would definitely lead to a loss. Thankfully it does not happen, so we can move on to the Kindra. And now you will see why I dislike this Pokemon so much. Ice Beam might be a two-shot, but he survives and uses rest. He immediately wakes up with the berry, and from here he can start setting up double teams. Whenever he gets low, he always uses rest, and without the berry, the sleep lasts 3 turns. But with evasion, it might not be enough time to take it out, and you can get caught in this rest cycle until you run out of PPs and then you're screwed. Thankfully, I can take it out after a while, and with all of the badges in our possession, we can start exploring the Victory Road. Here we meet Wally and have to fight him in our first real match against him. You have to fight him before Wallace too, but he only has a level 16 Rolls, so I never include him in the videos. His team is decent, to be honest. Surprisingly, even the Delcatty leaves a hit, but she does not put us to sleep with Sing. Against the Gardevoir, I use Secret Power since it's a physical move, but it does little damage, and he starts setting up with Double Team. Not again, please. We never miss, and the Roselia is an easy one-shot with Ice Beam. And with that, there are no more obstacles between us and the league. As always, we have to start with Sidney. His Mighty Hyena's Intimidate is mostly useless against us. I can use Water Pulse that I got from Juan to deal decent damage against his dark types. For the Cactur and the Shiftry, I have Ice Beam to one-shot them both, and since I'm faster, they can't touch me. For the Crodant, I can use Giga Drain, and with that, the fight is done. Next up, we have to face Pheobe, and she is a bit harder. In fact, I have to reset 3 times, because her Pokémons can leave a move and hit us back and eventually take me out. On this attempt, I got a bit lucky and managed to get through the fight. I got a few confusions from Water Pulse and they hit themselves, wasting their turn and either taking themselves out or letting me finish them next turn. It's a bit of a cheap way of winning a fight, but hey, sometimes Lady Luck is on your side and sometimes she's not your friend. The Sableye also tries the double team strategy, but it does not work very well for her. After some full restores, I can finally take it out and move on to the next member. Glacia turned out to be a bit harder than expected. Giga Drain does not do that much damage to her Pokémons, so they have time to do stuff like setting up hail or attacking me back. I switched to Water Pulse for the Glalie since that's the most damaging move I have against them. I lost once because of paralysis from body slam from one of the Celios, and then it all went downhill. This time they only use hail, so I reached her ace wall rain with most of my HP intact, and with a couple more Giga Drains I can take care of it. Sure, she gets a paralysis from a body slam, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Once the Walrus goes down and we have defeated the third Elite Four member, it's time to face the last one. So far, I'm proud of Surskit. Drake should be easy enough with Ice Beam, but I actually lost once to Kingdra. Damn you, Kingdra. The second attempt goes a bit better. As you might imagine, most of his team gets one-shotted by Ice Beam since they are 4 times weak to ice. Only the Shelgon can stall me a bit with Protect, but he inevitably dies too. Kingdra once again tries to go for the accuracy BS, but I get a lucky freeze to interrupt him, and after a few more ice beam, he finally goes down, and we can finish the fight after we blow up the Flygon. But now we hit a wall. I tried to defeat Wallace at this point for a few times, few meaning 76 attempts, and I got stomped either by damage or toxic. So I left and leveled to 100. And this time around, it's not as bad. Still not easy, but doable. The main problem are the Tentacruel and Milotic, because if they toxic me, there is no way I can win the fight in time. I equipped a Pecha Berry to remove poison once, but if they keep using Toxic, I'm screwed. And without any boosting moves, my damage is not high enough to take them out in a fast manner. Also, the Milotic can be a dick and stall you forever with a recovery, if it wants to. Ludicolo could also be a problem if it decides to use Leech Seed. Why the heck does Wallace have so many full restores? I'm gonna run out of PP before I can finish the fight if he keeps this up. And why does everybody have double team? Come on, this is getting so annoying, man. At least when he finally runs out of potions, I can take the Ludicolo out. Whiscash at this level is a guaranteed one-shot, and so we are at his last Pokemon. As you saw, the Gyarados can devastate me with Hyper Beam. But thankfully I still outspeed after his Dragon Dance, and I can finish him off. I did not expect the ending to be so brutal on old Surskit here. To be fair, I should have gave up and leveled earlier. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and all of that YouTube stuff. And you have any feedback, write in the comments. Bye!